So, because I am cheap, I try not to spend money on targets, and so this is how I still have actual targets and track my hits and kind of make them myself. So, what I do is just find cardboard or have the wife bring it home from work or pick it up on the neighborhood when I see someone throwing out an empty box or however I can come across it. And then I use stakes like this that I've gotten from work in the past. This one's used, obviously, and chopped, so it's kind of short. But I try to find stakes when I can. Hopefully, one that has a sharpened end like this. This is just a surveying stake. And if I can't find that, then I just hopefully try to find scrap. I've stocked up on a few and I'm running low. So got to figure out what I'm going to do for stakes. But I pretty much just scavenge and then I use the tools that I've got to make the targets. And so I just take a box like from Sam's Club or similar, hopefully usually a large box. I at least start with a large box, and if all I have are small boxes at the time, I make do. But with a large box, you can kind of make a template like this. Of course, these measurements are just for the camera, and I'll kind of zoom over that towards the end and put a bookmark on it. So if you want to just look at the measurements I've got, you can do that. But what I did was I took measurements from the, if you just Google search USPSA Target dimensions, you can pull them up. They've got them in metric and standard units. And I believe, sorry, knocking the camera around, I believe that mine has changed since. I think, the A zone might go all the way down to 11 inches instead of 8. And mine may be a little wider. I don't remember off the top, but I've made some iterations as I go, and then I've created this as my standard, largest probably target that I would make, and then I make some of those, and then you can see in the background I make some that are maybe skinnier or shorter or variations. So all I do really is I kind of butt up against a flat edge, like where a cardboard top bends over, get that good flat edge, take my straight edge there, and then draw measurements out. And once I make my template, I pop holes in the corners, like there, with a finishing nail, so that it comes through. And then I can set this on a piece of blank large cardboard, draw my outline all the way around it, and pencil. And then I pop my holes so I don't have to go find my A zone and my head box and where the C hits and stops. And that way, when I pull the template off, I can go ahead and draw my lines from hole to hole. So there's no guesswork there. It's always the same. This is a shorter head that came from an older template. And then once I do that, I just cut with the razor blade the cardboard out. You can see this is probably an old line that I started to cut and realized it was short and went somewhere else, and you get a little bit of tearing and ripping. So it's not perfect. Obviously this cardboard was beat up, but hey, I don't care. This is, practical training on a budget. So pretty boring really, but this is an easy way to save some coin and kind of make your own thing. The cool things about this that I like are, once you run out of cardboard, like if you have a large box, you get at least 2, maybe 4 sides of a cardboard box that will give you a full target. But once you run short, you can make something like this, which is essentially the same thing minus the D zone. And then it's just shortened. It stops right after the A zone. So I would use something like this for maybe a farther, harder to hit target, or specifically for quick drills, or perhaps what I've been trying to do is limit my acceptable hit area so that I kind of force myself to train out of these low and left. You can see on this target over here where it's basically C zone only and maybe a little long, but I've drawn kind of like this is the A box I want. These are still A box, but I'm trying to pull them up. And then these are my low and lefts that I'm trying to bring up higher. And so perhaps this will help me with that. Maybe it won't, I don't know, but it's still a usable target. And then here's basically the same thing. But you can see here that it's got the shorter A zone. And then I'm just accepting the entire head box as the head box, or maybe at one point I might just use those silly eyeballs. But it's the one behind anyway has a little bit past the C zone. So I can tell if I barely miss C, if it still hit the cardboard, then I know, okay, I'm not way off. But one last thing that you can do with something like this is once you run out of cuttable area and all you're left with is a flap from the cardboard, I use these to staple up, sheets of paper if I want to practice a specific drill, print it online and do it there. Same thing with the long ones. I still use the long ones. I pretty much try to use every single piece I can. And then even when I get things in the mail that come in a packaged box like this, I'll use those to staple things on as well. Or like this one, I cut my own little miniature target template for dry fire practice, which is this right here. So it's no bigger than my hand. It actually has a head box on it, but I taped this guy up there. So that's my dry fire target, one of which anyway. And then the only other thing, instead of going and spending money on those little fancy tape wheels you see people using, I just take some masking tape while I'm out there, and with a little bit of practice, it's pretty quick to just tape up a hole. And it's not the same color, but when you're shooting under pressure, you really don't notice. So that works. Here is the actual dimensions. So use that at will if you'd like. Thanks, that's all I got. The only other thing I'd like to say is, all this stuff's great and important. It's really awesome to train. It's good to track your hits and everything, but you can't take any of this with you when it's all said and done. So if you're not saved and you'd like to know how to be saved, just let me know. I can talk you through that in the comments, or hey, we can have a discussion somewhere else. But super important. Jesus is everything. Appreciate it.